Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. My name is Max Peterson. I'm the CEO of Smith & Sons Remodeling Experts right here in Canada, coming to you from our head office, our national support office here in the Okanagan. And look, I trust you're having a good day. Look, I wanted to just quickly put out some content, but first I wanted to just give you guys a bit of an update. Obviously we're fairly convinced that builders and general contractors and even contractors as a whole really are great at what they do, but they just don't understand on business development side and business management. And so, it's what really, I guess, enables us to exist as a business, and we help GCs all the time. And to that point, last week we introduced our newest franchised operator. So that'll be 2 that we've had through in training in 3 weeks. And, it's pretty exciting to not only onboard another general contractor under the Smith & Sons banner, but it certainly does. What I get mostly out of it is because, 3 years ago or 3.5 years ago when we opened for business publicly, the challenge for me was, is this thing going to fly? A, because I'm going to invest a shit ton of time and money. And B, is it going to fly because of the value that the business model presents? Now, it's certainly not everybody's cup of tea. But it's certainly the guys that we bring through. What I'm interested in, what confirms it for me, and more now than ever, is the amount. And this is what I'm going to chat a little bit about today. Is the amount of detail that we go into with the builders in 4 days of training, as it relates to everything that doesn't concern construction. And so, what I'm going to talk about today is how the devil's in the detail. But we had a good time last week, and it's interesting to note how that the comments that I got back last week is there was, this gentleman had been in the construction business, has been in the construction business for 30 years and had done multiple millions of dollars worth of revenue as an operator on his own. And so, it blew me away. Basically, I would just speak my truth. We would just talk about, what we analyze in the building game as far as an operator and the gaps and the deficiencies that we would see. And we would just complement, or we would just, fill those gaps, improve those deficiencies or remove the deficiencies. And, a guy to say to me after 30 years, this, blows my mind, when to me it's just my truth and it's just practical and it's very common sense. It just reaffirms in my head why it is we do what we do. Now, last week we had a fella by the name of Tom Reba on the show. It was great to catch up with Tom and just jam around, mindset. And you could tell that he was super passionate about bringing respect and dignity back into the business for those that operate as general contractors or contractors. And, furthermore, the amount of disrespect that contractors feel they get from, say, clients, he wants to remove that. And he's big on bringing the respect and dignity back into the industry. And I love that. And then, of course, having last week just spent a lot of time in a nuts and bolts situation with the new GC, it really meant, and it's funny, we got to the end of four days and I had to go back and say, remember where we started. It's all about mindset. So it was really an enjoyable time to jam around mindset with Tom Reba from the Contractor Fight. So look, today, what's prompted this episode is definitely what, I noticed sort of last week as it relates to the training that we do with our franchise general contractors. And so, really, I don't know if this is going to be a title, but, the subject matter I want to cover real quick in the next 10 minutes is the devil's in the detail. There's situations, both in my construction life, my family life, my now business life, where I guess I'm a little bit consumed with the detail. Now, I could be accused of being a little bit of a perfectionist as well, but I certainly pay attention, to the little things, because what I've noticed in the construction business, and I say this to our guys, and I said this throughout the training, is we start well and we finish strong. And what that reinforces is my attitude has got to be that it just doesn't matter that I've really got, I've got my sales process dialed in, but my construction process is not. Or we start well at the beginning of construction and then we disregard good service to clients because we've got another big fish on the line and we've got to go and start that. I absolutely have no time and no room for excuses for people or general contractors who come to me and say, well, I got busy. It blows my freaking mind when guys say to me, well, I want more inquiry. They get more inquiry and they forget to ring people. And their excuse is, I've been so busy, I just haven't got time. You know the words, I haven't got time. You know what that says to me? I need to recruit somebody. So please, if you are having a hard time because your business, you've got a fairly vibrant business, and you find yourself not really being able to get back on top or not really being able to get things done, I would say to you that you need to recruit somebody. Now, I don't know whether that's a superintendent. I don't know whether that's another guy on site to get the work done. I don't know whether that's an estimator or a project consultant or an admin accounts. I don't know what it is. I don't know your business, but it will be somebody. You need to step away from the front line and really replace yourself, because if you want to be an authentic business owner, then you have to do that. So the excuse that I haven't got time is not an excuse. It's actually a symptom of a business that's now bottlenecked because of you, the builder, the operator, the owner. And so, I think we want to pay attention to, what we're doing in our business. And look, I think I'll just digress. I'm not sure, what the devil's in the detail, because if you don't pay attention to the detail, you're going to step over that, and eventually that detail will come and bite you in the ass. It'll make you look bad. If you start well and you finish weak, how do you think the clients are going to feel? And usually, you tell me this, when is it that you have most trouble with getting paid? Tell me. I'll tell you when it is. It's the last freaking payment. And it's always that way, because if you haven't paid attention to the micro, or you haven't paid attention to the little things, or you haven't applied empathy throughout, and you're not listening to your clients, or you're not observing and taking notes, where they're going to go and stick it to you is guaranteed will be at the last payment. You know why? Because you're finished the project, I would expect, and you're now asking them for final payment. And so, guys and gals, you need to really pay attention to the detail. You just need to sort of observe those things that maybe you think aren't important, but certainly bring them, up to scratch. Do not step over them and disregard them, because I'm telling you, if you're like me, you'll get busy. And if you don't make a note or put it in the calendar or whatever your process is, you will forget about that. And it will probably cost you money. And especially if you're working 4 or 5 clients at once, you're certainly going to get beat up pretty savage. So look, when I talk to these guys in training, a lot of the emphasis is around where their mind is blown is not necessarily in construction. I make it clear from the get-go. I don't talk to you about construction because I expect that you've got your hands or you got your head around the whole construction process. What we talk about and where we know there's gaps and deficiencies is in that process, and it is it's a very empathetic process. It's a very value-driven process. It's all about making data-driven decisions. And so all of that, we've got the different spreadsheets so we can look at break-even points. We talk about KPIs in our business development day or strategic planning day of training. And so, guys, if you're just, and look, ultimately we're focused on giving our guys more leads, help them or show them how to bring value to be able to make more profit. And off the back of that, to be able to then have a better lifestyle. I'm talking more time, more vacations, more toys, right? And so, I think when you look at it holistically, and this is why we break it down, we start with the day of orientation and induction, and we just talk a little bit about some social responsibilities and things like that, and, to do with the brand mostly. And then we talk about, we do a day of sales, and then we do a day of estimating, and then we do a day of strategic planning and business development. And in there, we talk about contract administration. And, I think that's, there's some pretty macro subjects, but what blows guys' minds is the amount of detail that we go into. And so, I think for us, a lot of the time, I've had guys in this business that have set up a payment schedule within a contract and have left lines out in the description. I take responsibility because I obviously didn't train them right, and I know that sitting in 3 or 4 days, training, when I do a big, when I do a big download of information, and the manual is 4 inches thick, I mean, there's a shit ton of information there, and these guys are literally overwhelmed. I mean, that's essentially what happens because there's so much detail. My approach is I would rather oversupply and then let them figure it out on the fly, because I know that when we do a big download during those 3 or 4 days of training, when they, for them to walk out the other day and go, hey, Max, I got it all, is impossible. And so, what I've done because I recognize that the guys don't want to sit in training for that long, but then I also recognize that someone's, so signing them up is one thing. And this is like when I'm talking to retail, getting the contract with clients is one thing. Then you've got to hold their hand all the way through your job is not done once you've got a contract. It's just sort of starting. And so the same is for me when I onboard, a new general contractor as a franchise. I understand there's a sign up period, but I also understand that there's a standing up period. Now, what we've just done to complement, that which I'm saying is we've just brought on in the last couple of weeks a full-time franchise support and compliance manager, and this guy's got 37 years in the game. He's a few years older than I am, and his total reason for existence is to literally support the franchise general contractors and literally just ensure that they are using the brand the way it's meant to be used. And so that in itself, the feedback that we've got just in a couple of weeks has been absolutely amazing, because you've got someone who is focused totally on their success, pretty much 24/7. And I really love that. And that is an absolute value add. Which general contractor can you ring who's got 37 years in the game and has got time to just sit down with you and discuss what you're doing in the sales process, what you're doing, as part of your estimating on the software, how you're doing your contract admin, what are you doing for us after sales service? I mean, it's such a valuable resource to these guys. Not that there wasn't value already, but all we've done is now just created more value. And so, for me, that was a fairly big spend. But for me, I paid attention to the detail, knowing full well that as I'm developing this business as the CEO, it's getting harder and harder to get to me directly to get the coaching that you need. And so, one of the last things that we chat about, we talk about the mentoring process, and I just know that you can't go down, and our guys have talked about this. If you go to businessforbuilders.ca, you can see about 4 or 5 of our guys just chatting about their experience. I think a couple of episodes ago on this show, on the podcast, we chatted with a fellow by the name of Michael Miller. He's our second most newest franchise to join the crew. There's so much around the business development side of it that these guys, or they just walk out completely empowered because there is a structure in place, but now there's also a human that's now designated. And so that you can't go down the road because the guy down the road is not going to give up his secrets because you're competition. And that's just the way it is. Everyone's protecting their friggin' hill. They don't want anyone else to climb up it and take over, or so they think. So, I guess out of this, I need you to ask yourself a question. Where in my business, and when I'm chatting to new guys, if I pick the phone up now and ring you for the first time and chat with you about the business, and you can test this if you want. Our cell number here is 250-241-8866. If you get me on the phone, I'm not going to sell you. Come prepared, because I'm going to want to know a little about what your business. Tell me the 3 things that you freaking hate about your business, and I will guarantee you that I can fill your boots with everything that you're going to need as far as answers. I will tell you what you need to do. Now, here's the kicker. You can take this information, because when I asked these guys in training, I said, or at the end of training, is there anything that I've spoken about that is ridiculously mysterious? And they're like, absolutely not. What it is, it's the compilation and the coordination of the information. That's pretty cool. It's the compilation and the coordination of the information. It's both. And that is essentially what it means. So in other words, I can go into my kitchen and I can open up the pantry and there's a bunch of ingredients, right? So this is what we're talking about. You can walk into the pantry and you can see the ingredients, but it's the way, it's how you compile it and it's how you coordinate it, which is the tricky part. And I'm telling you, the way that you've got to do that is 2 things. It's to sit down and design it and then go and do, put it out in the field and test it. And I know that you guys and girls have not got time to do a lot of the design and then the research and development associated with it. So I know for a fact that my ability to train my number 8 franchise is drastically different. It's such a remarkable improvement to what I gave Scotty, my first franchise, back in June of 2018 or whenever it was. And so this is the developmental process, because I've got time and money to be able to design what I want, what I think the curriculum should be, that needs to be taught to general contractors. And then I put it out in the field, and I'm constantly getting feedback from guys because they're running hot. They're on it. They're playing for keeps out there. And I want to know the relationship between what we have designed and taught and their execution in the field. And I want to make sure that there's positivity and there's profitability coming out of that. If there is not, I will make drastic changes. And so we obviously subscribe to a plan, an assessment of the process, and then we go back into a redesign if that's what it takes, or a removal or an update or whatever the case may be. So this is why this whole business that I operate is not a set and forget. Technology changes the way we do business. Different products that come in change the way we do business. Different updates to the code, etc., change the way we do business. We have to be able to be like a heavyweight boxer who can duck and weave and pivot. So you've got to be able to move, like a bantamweight, but you've got to be able to, take a headshot like a heavyweight. And so, that really is the difference. And I'm telling you, this is why guys come in when they can take off. I had one of my guys, who's definitely my biggest hitter at the moment. When he come to me, he was doing $500,000 or a little bit more for the best part of 3 or 4 years before he got with Smith & Sons. And the minute that he was, just the ability for him to be able to take the marketing hat off, to have the ability to talk to someone about his sales process and talk to somebody about the leads or the clients or the prospects that he'd quoted for that was sitting out there, and be able to sort of go, hey, Max, what should I do with that? Literally, he will do $2 million this year. That's about 15 or 18 months since he joined Smith & Sons. From a standing start, and he really got in the business in November, so it was going to be slow. So he has done remarkably well. He's now got, project consultants. He's got superintendents. He's got a couple of trailers. He's got, trucks on the road. And he's really starting to sort of just get his shit together right now. And some guys and gals will be sitting there going, well, geez, I'd love to be able to do, $1 million a year, not $2 million. But I'm telling you, when he started to remove those hats and all he had to do was focus on operating his business, knowing full well that, we filled his lead requirement. And of course, these guys, they're asked to put through a report on a Sunday evening or a Monday because I want to know what they need from their business this week. They do it weekly. So here's the attention to detail. I don't just sign these guys up and send them out. I'm going, tell me about your business. Tell me how many leads you're talking to still. Tell me how many you've got at contract pre-construction. Tell me how many you've got under construction. Tell me how many months work you've got ahead of you. Tell me how many design services you've charged or you've charged out or you've billed for. I want to know what's going on in their business because mostly around, I want to be able to keep their top of funnel full. And that's something else we talk about. So for me, I don't just say, hey guys, the devil's in the detail. I am busy probably being more detailed than I've ever been before personally, but I know that the business lives and dies off the back of the detail. So I don't want to be, devil wears Prada. What's it called? Is that what it's called? I don't want to be that person, but, I certainly understand that, the business operation needs to be specific and it needs to be detailed. And if you just brush over the detail and you just go, forget about it, I'm just going to go and build. I would take a guess that your business, because now it's, what are we in, end of October 2021, I would love to look. Here's the flip side. Email me, max@businessforbuilders.ca, and tell me that you're kicking ass. I don't want to be just the naysayer, but, or the negative guy or the guy that's always busting your chops and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I would just about guarantee that if you're a general contractor right now, this year, the financials in 2021 are probably going to be very similar to the financials that you had in 2020 or 2019. Or what you've done is you've increased your revenue, and here's more attention to detail. You increased your revenue, but tell me what your net percentage margin is. I bet you it went down. Now, if you're saying to me, well, Max, we've got a bit of a growth cycle happening, we're investing money back into the business, that's okay. But if you just need, this is why business planning for me, day 4 is the most exciting time for me, because we bring all of the orientation induction, all of the sales together, all of the estimating and contract admin, and we dump it and we say, if you get this right, let's now talk about your 5 or 10 year plan as far as what, and is there an exit strategy that you want? Are you 40 and you want to be retired by 50? Well, how are we going to get after that? What are we going to do in the way of business development? We talk about, how a lot of guys will recruit somebody on and instantly the business needs to be making money. I'm telling you that you will drop below zero for a certain amount of time before you start getting up above zero. It will cost you money. Everyone knows that when you put on a first year apprentice, that dude or dudette will cost you money for 6 months, guaranteed. You're just losing money. It's just the way it is. But at some point, there will be a dividend or an ROI, return on investment, where you will break through the zero line and you will start to utilize that resource, and it will start to add value financially to your business. And so this is why, I get caught up and I'm 20 minutes in and it's like, I just want to start talking about detail. What I want to round out with, this is where I actually start on day 1 with guys, is that there's a guy by the name of Robert Kiyosaki, and he talked a lot about in the 90s, I would say, about a thing called cash flow quadrant. So if you're sitting in front of your PC at the moment and you've taken a time out to watch this or listen to this, or you're listening to this as you quote, I want you to just hit pause on your quote, and I want you to go and sort of Google cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. And I want to make it clear to you guys, because this is how I preface the training. Day 2, I probably don't talk about this in orientation and induction, but I certainly do at the beginning of the day. I hit the whiteboard and I start talking to new general contractors with smithies about a balance between time and money. You need to have the time to spend the money and the money to spend the time. So how do we do that? Okay, so when you look at, if you've got the cash flow quadrant up there now, and you can see this plus sign, and on the top left-hand side, it's got an E for employee. It's got, down below that, it's got a SE for self-employed. On the right-hand side, it's got business owners, and then below that, it's got investors. On the left-hand side of the quadrant, what happens is people exchange time for money. They show up for 40 hours, they get paid. That's the deal. Very common. A lot of people do it. A lot of people are very happy with that. They don't want to go and be a business person. But if you are sitting there and you say, Max, I'm a dead set entrepreneur and I don't know why I can't, I can't figure this thing out. It's because the detail that you're paying attention to is it's lacking. You don't know what you don't know. Let's just start with that. But what we're trying to do with our general contract is move them from the self-employed side of that quadrant that's on the left-hand side under employee, and we're trying to move them across to business ownership. Now, the difference between the left-hand side, employees and self-employed, and the right-hand side, which is business owners, legitimate business owners and investors, is that the guys on the left exchange time for money. The guys on the right exchange money that makes money. You've heard that saying, money makes money, right? Well, on the right-hand side, you've got business owners that invest money and they make money. It's not tied to the amount of hours that they work per month or per week. It's the ability. So for you to do that, Mr. and Mrs. General Contractor, you are going to have to slowly walk away from the front line. You are going to have to systemize at the most micro level your process, whether it's sales or construction, and estimating for that matter. The amount of guys that I talk to in training or whatever, and they tell me how they do estimates, it freaking blows my mind. It's no wonder. And don't even get me started talking about back costing and doing an analysis on what the actuals versus the budget, numbers you put in your estimate were. I mean, it's such an important metric, and yet most guys don't do it, and we give them the freaking software. So I can't imagine what's happening outside the Smith & Sons family. But, to move across from the self-employed side across to business ownership, you're actually going to pay people to help you to build that business. And, of course, I've said this before, businesses are run by good systems, and systems are operated by great humans. And then we could dive off and talk to your ability to recruit good talent and the importance of having and maintaining a good culture in your business. But, look, that's plenty for now. We're done. Look, if you love what you hear or you've enjoyed it, you got some value, or you know somebody that might get some value out of this, please pass it on. Please share it. Certainly, give us a bit of a like, subscribe, make a comment if you need to, and we will respond as quickly as possible. Don't be afraid to text us, 250-241-8866. You can email me at max@businessforbuilders.ca. That's all for now. See you on the next episode. Go and build a kick-ass business. Cheers.